Okay, welcome to Meal Prepping with Flo by Jenna Poole. That is me. I am Jenna Poole, and welcome to this awesome masterclass on meal prepping. So to get us started, who am I? A little bit about me. So I am Jenna Poole. I'm a nutritionist. I've been practicing for over 6 years as a nutritionist. I'm also a personal trainer, fun fact. So when I was studying nutrition, I also worked 3 jobs and studied a 6-month course in personal training. So that was fun for me. I didn't really have much of a life, but I learned a lot. So I'm a personal trainer and a clinical nutritionist. So I have a background in a food as medicine approach. So my actual degree is a Bachelor of Science and I majored in nutritional medicine. And essentially what that means is that all food has a medicinal property. And so what we can enact in the body is a medicinal, or what we know now in our Western society to be a medicinal effect if we use the right quantities of certain foods, and supplements, etc. And so from my perspective as a clinical nutritionist and in clinic and even in my home and in the kitchen, or everything that I consume, I'm asking the question, is this going to be causing illness and disease, or is it going to be facilitating vitality and health and energy? And that's essentially how I navigate the world and the day. And of course, there is a lot that goes into that in terms of what you are feeding. Are you feeding and nourishing your body or your soul? I do believe that a beautiful glass of red wine in beautiful company is very nourishing. So it's not all about being very disciplined and hardcore all the time, but it's really about looking at the food that you're eating from a food as medicine approach, and from this perspective of, is this nourishing me? And is this moving me towards energy and vitality? In regards to meal prepping, which is what this masterclass is on, I have been planning and meal prepping our meals for at least 10 years. And especially when I was in my personal training days, that's when it was like really hardcore. So I remember having terrible bloating because I would prep this really iron-rich dish of brown rice, greens, and kangaroo mince, which if you've never tried kangaroo mince is very hard to digest. And you've got to have a good level of enzymes in your gut to be able to break that down. So over the last 10 years, I've essentially cultivated this way of flowing within the week with your meals. So we are in my household, we're a family of 5. So there's my husband and me, and then we have 3 children, 5.5, 2.5, and 8 months currently as of today. And so being prepared with our meals is so integral to survival because literally this morning we ran out of food and I had to do a last minute dash to the grocer to get some food for our eldest lunchbox. And that is not me. Normally I'm very prepared. And I do think that the universe was just saying to me, let's just have all the pitfalls so you can share the lessons in your masterclass, Jenna. So being prepared, there's this saying, fail to prepare or prepare to fail. And so when we're prepared with our meals, we can pivot in the kitchen when everything does not go to plan. And we can ensure there's a sense of safety and security there because we know what's about to come. So there's a sense of certainty about that. So that's about me. If you want to read more about me, you can head to my website and see my about me section. But in regards to meal prepping, I have tried it all from the stacker, the like Tupperware containers all lined up with your meals, to what I'm going to teach you today, which is a very different approach to meal prep and flowing with your food. Okie dokie. So here are my key ingredients to meal prepping with flow. And this is what we're going to be discussing tonight over the course of the webinar, masterclass. they're interchangeable, those terms. So planning, prepping, tools and equipment, pivoting with flow, and budgeting. I popped that one in there. I debated whether to pop some budgeting in there, but there are some really different ways of looking at your overall budget in terms of a household, and how you can stretch that and do things a bit differently there as well. So let's get on to planning. I've got some steps for you. So step one is planning. When planning your meals, I want you to focus on macronutrients. So your macronutrients are the large components that take up your plate. So proteins, fats, and carbs. Now, proteins should be the focus of your plate. And the reason that is because proteins in your body break down, and they are the structure and the function of your body. So everything that you can see and everything that functions in your body, from enzymes to hormones to your immune system to your neurons to your just everything in your body is composed of protein. And so it's essential to life that you have that. And so when I'm planning my meals for the week, it always stems around protein. Protein is also really satisfying. And so when it comes to extending certain meals, if you have a good amount of protein on a hormonal level, it's going to trigger the satiety and satisfaction hormones or signals in your body, so that you're not wanting for more after a meal. And that's why I focus on protein first when I'm meal prepping, and then I create a dish around that. Fats as well. So your fats are essential for things like your hormones, your hydration, for satiety again. So protein and fat, when you combine them, they create this sense of satisfaction. They also stop your stop isn't really that right word, but they trigger a hormone called leptin to signal to your brain that you are full, so it stops you from overeating. So having a good combination of proteins and fats is essential to keeping your weight maintained, or if you want to lose weight, it'll help with that as well. Carbs, I like to use carbs smartly. So carbohydrates, these are like the little additions to the meal. So if we're having bolognese, then the bolognese is the heart of the dish. This is the focus. And then the addition to that is the spaghetti in whatever form we're using. And then, so once you've focused on your proteins, your fats, and your carbs, you can focus on your meals. And I'm going to show you how to do that. But I want you to understand the process that I go through when I create a meal plan over the week, and how I balance that over the course of a week, because we want to be making sure that our nutrients and our macronutrients and our micronutrients are covered within a weekly period. A lot of the time we are, I guess, socially conditioned to focus on our macronutrients and our micronutrients on a daily perspective. And this is usually through counting calories, our macronutrients. However, I'm inviting you to look at it in terms of a weekly period, because you can't, it's just a bit more sustainable. You've got longer time. If you don't get a little bit on one day, you can catch up the next day. And our body don't work like that. Our body doesn't need the exact same thing every single day. Every single day, think about your activity levels. Think about your activity levels in your brain. Are you learning? Are you teaching? Are you strategizing and thinking? Think about how you're moving throughout the day. All of these kinds of things. Your stress levels are going to require different nutrients and different amounts of energy, i.e. calories, on any given day. So it's don't assume that every single day you need to be having the exact same amount of energy intake. And try to look at it, I'm inviting you to look at it over a weekly period. Awesome. So choose your proteins for the week. Now, in our household, we are meat eaters. And so I base this on what we eat and what I teach my clients who also are meat eaters. If you are plant-based, then you would simply choose your own plant-based proteins, which are a bit different to, obviously, to meat eaters. So once or twice a week, you might want to eat a wild caught fish, one roast, one slow cook, one plant-based meal, and then 4 other proteins. So things like sausages or steak, tempeh, chicken, thighs, pork mince, eggs. So this is about looking at how many meals I'm eating over the course of the week. So there's 8 there, and then purchasing the proteins for that based on this. Can you guys see the whole screen? Yeah.
Yes.
Perfect. Okay. Step 2, choose your seasonal fruit and veg. Now, when we're meal prepping and planning, old school would say that you have to have, and I get this from clients all the time, and to me, it's very frustrating, particularly actually from personal trainers giving clients a meal plan. That's not the frustrating part. The frustrating part is that the client is sent to go and purchase 100 grams of asparagus when asparagus is not in season. And therefore what happens is the asparagus is like 3 times the price because it's harder to get. So it's being shipped from the other side of the country or overseas. And so that's why I put the emphasis on seasonal fruit and vegetables. So when you're choosing your produce, choose produce that is in season. Usually it's the cheaper option because they're ripe and ready. It's in abundance because the nature of the world is providing all of the nutrients and the environment for that particular set of produce to thrive. The other reason that I love seasonal produce is because on a nutritional level, if you look at a food, so let's take an apple, for example. Now in winter, often we have a lot of immune health challenges, so to speak. So you might get a few more colds and things like that. If you take an apple that is in season in winter, that apple contains vitamin C and quercetin, both of which support your immune system. So when you're looking at seasonal produce, the nutrients contained with them are supportive of what your body needs during that time. If we take summer fruits, for example, things like watermelon and melons and papaya and stone fruits, they're all very rich in water. Cucumber, really good example. Tomatoes, really rich in water. In summer, it gets very hot. So our requirement for water and hydration goes up, yes? So our nature, our environment, the seasons are producing the produce that we need at that given time. And that's why I love seasonal produce so much. The third reason I love it so much is because it's fresh. And so when you look at the nutrient density within that tomato that is seasoned now, let's take an apple. And I love an apple. Apple is a great example. As a fresh apple, you cannot beat it. A fresh organic apple, oh my goodness, it's just crisp, it's delicious, but the nutrients there are ripe and ready. Whereas if you were to eat an apple out of season, or if you were to eat a conventional apple that was picked and stored in a warehouse from anywhere from like 4 months to 12 months, as soon as the produce is picked, the nutrient levels go down. Okay, so as long as your produce as fresh, the nutrients within that produce is going to be ripe, ready, and very, very high. So nice and nutrient dense, okay, within that product. It also creates variety within your meals. So rather than looking at, I need 700 grams of asparagus for the week, a kilo of broccoli, a kilo of carrots, that kind of thing, I invite you to walk around your local farmers market or your grocer and look at what's in season and try something you haven't consumed before, whether it's kohlrabi or purple cauliflower, anything that's like a little bit different. Just give it a go and see what happens. but it's going to increase the variety of nutrient density within your foods. So our step 1 is choosing the protein. Our step 2 is choosing your produce, nice and seasonal fruit and vegetables. And our step 3 is your pantry staples. This is key to pivoting, okay? Having pantry staples. So you want to go through your pantry and replace anything that's low or has finished. We have a chalkboard on our pantry, and whenever anything finishes, I just write smoked paprika, cinnamon, spaghetti, whatever it is. As soon as it's finished, it goes up on the chalkboard so that at the end of the week, we have a list of what needs to be replenished. Your grains, things like rice, buckwheat, quinoa. Quinoa is actually a seed, but we'll pass over on that one. Your legumes, things like chickpeas and peanuts, nuts, seeds, spices, dried fruit. So these are things that you can quickly make a meal out of, or like bulk out a meal if you need to. And we're going to talk about pivoting later on, but your pantry staples are the things that can really provide that zest for your meals and variety and difference and flavor, etc. Step 4, plan your meals in 5 minutes. So I invite you to look at the meals that you love and write those down. Think of the meals that you're confident at cooking, write those down. The ones that are weekly favorites, write that down. This does not need to be complicated. Like, keep it really, really simple. And where you're going to provide the variety is within the proteins and actual foods that you're including in that. So if you're having a curry, you might want to change the type of protein that you put it in there and the vegetables that you put in there every week. And that's going to give you the variety that you're looking for. So I literally did this in less than 5 minutes. So Friday, and creating some routines and rituals around your weekly meal prep can be really, or planning can be really helpful too. So we used to have a Friday steak night when my husband wasn't working nights. Previous to that, when we lived in Melbourne, Friday night, he always worked Friday nights. So Friday night for me was salmon and like fish and chip night, and I'd make fish and chips. So creating that routine makes it a lot easier, and it like just reduces the stress around planning. So Friday night, steak night, Saturday night is usually pork and rice noodles. Sunday, I always do like a big roast or a slow cook, because that's going to give me meals for the week ahead. Yeah, when we're at work. So on that Sunday, if Sunday is your last day of your week, I invite you also to have a big meal on that, big cook up on that day of something big, because that's going to give back during the week when you don't have as much time to prep and plan. Slow cooked chicken. So Mondays, and this is how I like to think of it too. Like, Mondays are often a massive day, first day of the week. You put a slow cooker on, you spend 10 minutes prepping it, and it gives back 8 hours later when you don't have to do any prep. Tuesday night, 30-minute pumpkin soup. Wednesday night, spag bowl. That's what we have for dinner tonight. Thursday, salmon, chips and salad. So make it simple. Think about the things that you enjoy, and then find some recipes that you love and throw them. Okay. Here's an example weekly meal planner. I actually sent this to you once you signed up, so you can use that if you wish. This is another example. So tempeh and chickpea curry, bangers and mash, spag bowl with mung bean pasta, crispy baked chicken and rice, the perfect roast chook, pulled pork. These are all my recipes, so stay tuned for those recipes. But just having it on a visual like this can be really helpful, and putting it on your fridge, or again, like we have a chalkboard in our kitchen and we put our meal planner on a chalkboard. So that means that whoever's in your home, whoever's night is cooking, so whether you're on your own or you're living in a family, they can look at the chalkboard and see, or the meal planner, and see what's for dinner that night. So it kind of just alleviates any stress. And it also means that If one person can't cook, the other person can pick up the slack, hopefully, and start that process of cooking dinner that night if you're not able to get there. Okay. Now we're on to some prepping. How are we finding it so far? In the chat box, let me know how, like, what you have you learned some things. Yep. I can't see you. Is it going, are you learning some things? Oh, we're writing, I see. Awesome. Absolutely. Yes, this is handy. Yes, excellent. Perfect. We're on the right track. Good. Learning that I need to get a chalkboard. Oh, seriously, it's a game changer. We had a standalone chalkboard when we were in Melbourne, and we also had one painted onto, so we rented when we were in Melbourne, and we would have one on our pantry cupboard. It was like a portable one that we took house to house. So that was our pantry. We painted the front of it chalkboard paint, and that was it. And then when we moved to a different home, I bought a standalone chalkboard and used that. And then when we moved here, we painted our pantry doors chalkboard paint, and it's like, honestly, it's gold. It is so good, so good. And you get the liquid chalkboard markers, and you can see it like really clearly. It's perfect. Okay, prepping. This is the fun part. So we've planned, so we know what we would like to cook. Now we need to prepare for how we're going to do that. Now, this first step is do a big cook up. This amounts that I've given you works for a family of 4 to 5 people. And typically I would use what's here on this sheet for lunches, okay, for lunches and for pivoting if need be. So I recommend, if you're not cooking for that many people, just halve the amount. So instead of 2 proteins, do 1 protein. But doing a roast, so a roast chook or a slow cooked pork, obviously make it your own and you choose the proteins that you love. 2 sources of carbs, so like it might be 2 cups of quinoa cooked and 2 cups of sweet potato mash, and that should get you, like, you want to keep that in the fridge for 3 to 4 days, and maybe even freeze half if you don't think you'll use that. But doing 2 versions of carbohydrate, 2 versions of proteins, and then 2 salads. So a coleslaw, I love a good coleslaw, and a roast veg salad, for example. You might want to do a cucumber salad, or you might want to do a garden salad or a Greek salad. You know, choose the salads and vegetables and things that you love. A jar of dressing, very handy. And then 3 snacks. So my delicious CCC balls, they're cashew, coconut, and collagen, and they are legit amazing. Chocolate cookies, and then some nori chips, which are like seaweed chips. So having like already there, that if you did that cook up on a Sunday, that would cover you pretty much for the week. But I also want you to note that a chook, and a slow cooked dish are going to take you less than 20 minutes together to prep. Okay, especially once you get the knack of it, chopping the vegetables, putting in the oven, chopping the vegetables, putting it all in a slow cooker. That is going to, for those, it shouldn't take more than 10 minutes if you're focused and prepared. Actually, that's how I chopped my finger, because I was not focusing when I was chopping my meals for my roast chicken the other day. Whoops. And same with the quinoa and the sweet potato. Like, honestly, you put it on a pot for 15 minutes and it's cooked. 10-15 minutes and it's cooked, and that's done. Okay, so this is like max hour in the kitchen on a Sunday, preparing all of these things. Okay, maybe a little bit more when you do the snacks, but again, CCC balls and the chocolate cookies wouldn't take me more than 40 minutes. And these are going to give you back time. So I really want to invite you to think about this in terms of leveraging your time. If you spend an hour or two on a weekend to give you back time during the week. So during the week, you might not have enough time because you're working full time, etc. Then that 2 hours max, when you get in the flow of it, is going to give you back so much time, stress, and reduce stress and worry during the week because everything is done. Okay. You don't have to scramble. You don't have to spend time or money purchasing meals elsewhere, going to Woolworths or the shops or buying snacks, etc. So it's all ready and done for you at the start of the week. So step 1, do a big cook up. Step 2, mix and match for lunches. This is my favorite part. So when you're meal prepping, what we all hate, I mean, I don't know, maybe some people like chicken and broccoli. Maybe they do. I don't personally. I like fun and variety. So fun fact, variety is one of our 6 core human needs. So as a human, we have 6 core human needs. They are things like, you can go Google them. They're things like certainty, variety. Anyway, we can do another workshop, another masterclass on that. But variety is key. So when we feel like everything is the same, we get very bored and we start to look for fun and variety. And often what happens is that we look for it in a different way, like a Mars bar or a dinner out or a dinner, like someone else cooking for us that might not be like healthy food. It's takeout, which isn't a bad thing depending on what it is. Okay. So if you've got goals and you want to be healthy and you want to lose weight or you want vitality or you just want to get into a flow with your cooking, make sure that you're aware of the impact that variety has on your humanness and your emotions as well. Okay, so variety is a core human need. We all need that in our life in order to thrive and feel like we can be fulfilled as a human. So mix and match, step 2 for your lunches. So I've just showed you in the previous slide what you need to cook up during the week. Step 2 is an example of what you could create just with those meals. So just with what you've cooked, you could create chicken and roast veggie salad with a dressing, a chicken pot pie. So you could do like the chicken, a few extra veggies, and then put the sweet potato mash on top, put it in the oven, and you would have dinner within 10 minutes. Or lunch, you could put it in a little takeaway glass container and then heat it up in the microwave for lunch. It'd be like a chicken shepherd's pie. Chicken soup, so you just add broth and some veggies, chicken and coleslaw wraps, pork superfood bowl, pork tacos, pork rice noodles. So already, can you guys see, let me know how much variety you can get just through preparing those key staples. So what you could be doing as well is having like chicken coleslaw or chicken and roast veggies. Like, you see how they can cross, or you could have pork and coleslaw, or you could have pork and roast veggies. So there's like so much variety within that aspect of just cooking and preparing your food that way. Let me know if this is making sense and if this is feeling like something that you would be wanting to implement. Is this exciting you, planning and preparing this way? All right, step 3, the extra bits. So these are things that just kind of give back a little bit more. So if you like hard-boiled eggs, hard boil some eggs, and then you add a little smiley face to the shell once it's cooked. And when you put it in your fridge and you see the little smiley face, 1, it makes you feel joy and happy. But 2, you know that it's hard boiled rather than not hard boiled. pre-cutting your vegetables and snacks for dinner. So I often do that if I know that the school rush after like the 3:30 till 5:30 is going to be hectic. It often is. At 11 a.m. in the morning, I will often cut my veggies for that night's dinner. Oh my God, I love the joyous eggies. Definitely is something I want to implement. Perfect. Excellent. The joyous eggies is amazing. I used to do this a lot when I worked full time because they're an easy go-to snack. They're very fulfilling. You have two, it's like a meal. And if you don't have a lot of time, they're like really big bang for your buck nutrient wise. So when you pre-cut your vegetables, once a vegetable is cut just on a nutrient level, the nutrients do start to degrade. So do know that if you pre-cut your vegetables, you're probably not going to get as much nutrients due to oxidation. However, for time purposes and prepping, sometimes it's just a winner. Okay, sometimes we're able to do that. Allow yourself that extra little bit. Okay. Alrighty, so let's get on to some tools and equipment. Now, this might sound really odd to include this in a meal prepping and planning masterclass. However, I want you to know that there are some things that are worth purchasing and are going to save you time in the long run for it's just going to create so much more space in your day because they reduce the amount of cooking, okay, or reduce the amount of time spent in the kitchen, and they speed things up and they create more flow in the kitchen because you're not using equipment and tools that are clunky and blunt and that kind of thing. So number one, a slow cooker. I recommend everybody get a slow cooker. You can spend, I think we spent like $70 on our slow cooker. We use it multiple times a week for the past like 6 years. It is game changing. You spend like 10 minutes in the morning preparing it, putting it in there, and then it's ready that night. So you have to do no prep whatsoever unless you want to have some rice or quinoa or something with it, with the dish. Also, it's very hard to make it taste awful. Like you can just chuck most like veggies, protein, tin of tomatoes, some stock in there, salt, pepper, and it's delicious. So a slow cooker. Number one, a Thermomix, a blender, or a stick blender. Now, we have a Thermomix. We don't use it for cooking meals as such. I do my soup in there, my pumpkin soup, I do my Thermomix, but it's more for blending things. So for example, if we're doing spag bowl, rather than cut all the veggies, I'll pop it in that, or you could put it in your blender or your food processor, and it just saves like 10 minutes of chopping time. But it also means that you can blend things really, really quickly, and it's just gold. I love it. Things like making snacks and things, we always would do in a food processor or a Thermomix, things like nut butter, date balls, that kind of thing. So Thermomix and food processor, gold, really good. It just saves so much time in the long run. And it means that you know what's going into your product as well. So when your end product, so whatever you're cooking, rather than using products that like bottled sauces or nut butters and things that are purchased from the supermarket, you can make them really quickly in these what's that called, kitchen appliances, that's what it's called. You can make it really quickly and know that there's no like seed oils or anything that you don't want in there. You know it's not because you've made it. A high quality knife. So we purchased it's like a Japanese knife from an auction site. I think it was like $50, and it was one of the best purchases ever. So we also have a mandolin, which is gold for slicing like lots of things if we're dehydrating anything, or if you want to like for my pork and rice noodle dish, I'll use the mandolin because you can like make thin slices of vegetables really, really, really quickly. But a high quality knife just makes the cooking process not only quicker, but it flows because it feels good. Like there is nothing worse. Tell me if you agree with this, than using a blunt knife. Like how frustrating is that? You want the cooking process to be fun and flow and easy, and then you start chopping your vegetables with a blunt knife and it just ruins all that. Let me know if you agree. But having a high quality knife, even though it might, like, you might outlay a little bit at the start, will create so much flow in your cooking space. Totally agree. Thank you. Enjoy. Totally agree. Perfect. Okie dokie. I need to go shopping. Yes, you do. Oh my goodness. A good quality knife and equipment, just game changer. Okay. How to pivot with flow. Perfect. Good night. Thanks for coming.
Thank you. See ya.
Bye. So pivoting with flow. When things go wrong, this week, a lot did not go to plan. So I reckon probably 1 out of 5 of my planned meals went to plan. So I was going to do a big, like, 1-pot dish with chicken wings on top, and the chicken wings were off. So that turned into bacon, leftover chicken, and roast veg. So being able to pivot just means that you have something nourishing on hand as soon as you need it. And it's just a few little mind shift changes that allow you to go, oh, yes, I can do that. So have go-to recipes that are quick and easy. So pumpkin soup, honestly, that has been a lifesaver multiple times. Fritters, often what I'll do, like if hubby is awesome at cooking risotto, so I'll add an egg to the leftover risotto and make fritters out of that. Banana pancakes. This morning we had no breakfast things in the cupboard, and I had 1 egg and 1 banana, so I made banana pancakes. So they're just a few little tips that you can, and that's why I also highly recommend having eggs on hand all the time if you eat them, because you can create so many things that are voluminous, so big and large in volume, with 1 egg. So I made 12 pancakes today with 1 banana, 1 egg, and 1 cup of nuts and seeds. That's pretty cool. And I had nothing in the pantry. Be willing to make it work. So that's a mindset thing. Like, some of my best recipes and meals have actually come from an empty fridge and pantry. Like this morning when I had nothing and I created these awesome banana pancakes. Use your prep meals that we talked about before. Use them and then recycle them into a pie or a salad or a soup, etc. So that's why having that 1 to 2 hours at the start of the week can just give you so much back, because if something doesn't go to plan, you've already got something there. You can just quickly put together a dish and you're not having to stress or worry or think about it or go out and get something. When you have the basics cooked, like a bolognese sauce, this is actually a really good idea. I don't do it often, but having, like, cooking up a big batch of mince at the start of the week, and then you can recycle that and pivot in a flash. So you could have tacos or shepherd's pie, but you've already got the majority of the cooking, the base and the heart of the dish done. You just add to it. Is this making sense? Let me know. Okie doke. Lastly, some budgeting tips. So I want you to think first about how many meals you will get out of 1 product. So 1 leg of lamb could get me 10 meals. I could get at least 10 meals out of 1 leg of lamb, depending on how big it is. But if you look at the outlay of a lamb, it's like $46 to $50. So say a lamb is $50 and you get 10 meals out of it. That's about $5 a meal, which I think is quite good, making sure that my maths are correct. But, like, often we look at the outlay of something and go, whoa, that's a lot for that product. But if you think about how far you can extend that product, so if you were to get a whole chicken, so I get a good quality, chemical-free, hormone-free whole chook is about $15, $18, maybe 20 max. You get that chicken, you can probably get about 8 meals out of the meat, maybe a bit more depending on your serving size. And then the carcass you can create into stock, okay, or broth. So you're getting more meals when you eat nose to tail. Yeah, you consuming the whole product, you're able to extend that dish. Portion your meals. It's really easy to overeat something that is delicious. But yeah, budgeting, you can portion your meals, add fat to your meals. So if you're really tight on a budget, adding an extra drizzle or two of olive oil to the end of your dish will up your calories, meaning you eat less of the actual dish because you've got a high calorific meal, more nourishment from that actual fat, but the bulk of the food, you're not actually using more of that, if that makes sense. So if it's a little bit of a health hack that stops you overeating when you add extra fat to your meals. Cook for many rather than one. So don't just cook, like if you're gonna cook, don't just cook like bolognese for one. You want to cook bolognese for 6 so that you're then got leftovers, and it's going to extend your produce as well. Be mindful of food waste. Honestly, I think food waste is one of the biggest money wasters. When you cook something and you throw it out, or you buy something and it goes off, so you throw it out, it's just a massive money waste and food waste. So be mindful of what you're wasting. Actually, start to think about that first. If you are finding that you are wasting a lot of food, look at that and see if you can navigate that and eliminate it, not just reduce it, eliminate it. Support your local butcher, grocer, and farmers markets. So this one is really really interesting. We rarely shop at the big grocers. We focus on local, and often they're our friends, which is so lovely. So, but what ends up happening is that your local butcher, like today, this is actually yesterday, because I went. Okay, so yesterday, I went to the butcher and it came to $26.50, and he goes, "That's $25, thanks." So budgeting, when you're supporting local and you're creating that relationship with the people that are producing and growing your food, they give back to you. Yeah. So over a period, it might feel like can you imagine a big supermarket doing that? Just cutting $1.50 off your thing, and which isn't much, but it's that gesture of generosity, I suppose. And we have a relationship, we have a rapport. And so when you're supporting those local butchers and grocers and farmers markets, I keep saying butcher, grocer, and candlestick maker, they will give back to you. Yeah. So you'll go to your local farmers markets and you buy 10 apples and they'll throw in an extra 2, this is the nature of people. And so when you're supporting local, you're also supporting and nourishing your budget, because you often get more for the same amount, because people are inherently just generous from their heart spaces. How does that sound to you guys? Let me know. And do you have a local food system that you're supporting and nourishing within wherever you live? So good. Yes. It's so good. It's so good. Oh, it got me. That's going to be awesome for the recording. I just splashed myself in my eyeball. Weekly farmers markets in Eltham is awesome. Oh, I love that so much. And they've got a really good food co-op system, I've just heard, around there. Yeah, farmers markets is amazing. And it's where you create relationship and you create community through these food systems, through these people who produce your food. It's where community is, because it's one of the biggest things that we all have in common is that we have to eat. And so when you're interested in your food and you're really injecting some energy and focus into where your produce is coming from energetically, that's going to give back to you and your health and your vitality and your energy as well. I love it so much. Okay, and lastly, I have some exciting news. So that's it for our little meal planning and prepping, but I have some exciting news. I have officially launched a cookbook. I wrote a cookbook. It's called Jenna's Nourishing Life, the cookbook, and it's got 39 recipes in there from my kitchen, and they are honestly the meals, our go-to meals. So these are the meals that we use to pivot, the meals that we cook almost weekly, and at the heart of them, they have got the principles of nourishing whole foods. They're gluten and dairy free with the additional cheesy bit here and there. Mostly they are grain free with the suggestion of rice here and there as well. They are delectable, nourishing, and wholesome. So they are, this is ready to go. Oh, thanks guys. I can't believe, oh, you're so excited. I am going to paste the link for it in our chat box, and you can go purchase it should you wish to. Yeah, and I'm just really excited that I wrote a cookbook. So all of the recipes that I mentioned today in my beautiful masterclass are in that cookbook. So things like your banana pancakes that I cooked this morning, the pumpkin soup, pork and rice noodles, fritters, smoothies, CCC balls, nori chips, chocolate cookies, all of it, more crispy baked chicken. It's all in the delectable cookbook. So if you'd like to go and purchase it, you're more than welcome to. And I just want to say a massive thank you for coming on board tonight and sharing this beautiful masterclass with me, because yeah, and I hope you learned something. All right, that's it from me. Happy day.